What if today is not just another ordinary moment in your life, but the very moment that heaven has been preparing in secret for years? What if this is the hour everything in the spiritual realm has been counting down toward? Chosen one, slow down for just a second and truly consider this. What if the very shift you've been praying for, crying for, and even doubting would ever come, has finally begun? You didn't arrive here by accident. You didn't stumble upon this message by random scrolling or coincidence. No, your spirit was led here, drawn here, because something eternal is unfolding. Heaven's timing is never off. When God sets an appointment, nothing in the world can cancel it. And today might just be that divine appointment marked on the heavenly calendar with your name written in bold letters. Think back. Think of every silent battle you endured that no one clapped for, the prayers you whispered into your pillow when the world was asleep, the tears that fell not out of weakness, but out of fierce obedience. God saw it all. While others only saw your surface, God saw your surrender. While others misunderstood your quiet seasons, heaven recorded them as moments of immense spiritual strength. And now something has shifted. For you, could it be that heaven has waited until this exact hour to release what's been held back? Could it be that while you were wondering if anything would ever change, the very foundations of your next chapter were already being laid in the unseen? Could this be the moment when everything hidden is revealed and everything delayed is delivered? If your spirit is already stirring, if something deep within you is saying, "This is for me," then I invite you to declare it boldly. Go to the comments right now and write 777, I feel the shift. Let us know your city and nation. We want to see where across the earth God's chosen ones are rising at the same divine hour. You may be surprised how many others are awakening at the same time as you. You are not alone. And to all of you who have supported this message through Super Thanks, thank you with all our hearts. Your gift is not just a donation, it is fuel for the mission. It helps this word of encouragement and awakening reach more souls who are hanging on by a thread. We do not take your support lightly. We bless you for it. May your giving echo back into your life in ways only God can orchestrate. Now stay with me, because in the next few moments, we're about to open a window into the invisible. We're going to talk about exactly what happened in the Spirit today, why all of heaven is watching, and what this could mean for the next chapter of your story. Don't miss what's about to be revealed. The shift has already begun. Are you ready to step into it? God's chosen ones, what if today is the exact day heaven marked for your shift? Chosen one, have you ever considered that this ordinary day, the one you may have moved through on autopilot, feeling invisible or even discouraged, might actually be the divine moment heaven has been anticipating for years? Not tomorrow, not in some distant future, but today, right here, right now. Could it be that while you were quietly enduring, patiently waiting, or simply surviving, something monumental was shifting in the unseen realm because of you? There are moments in life when heaven holds its breath, waiting for a small act of faith to activate a massive ripple of destiny. Could today have been one of those moments? Perhaps it wasn't grand or loud. Maybe it was as simple as choosing peace over retaliation, stillness over striving, or hope over despair. And while others may not have noticed, the spiritual realm did. God did. Psalm 34 says that the eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. That's more than comfort. It's a powerful reminder that heaven doesn't merely observe you from a distance. You're not being overlooked or evaluated. You're being anticipated. You're being watched not with scrutiny, but with love and readiness. like a father watching his child take their first steps, eager to catch them if they stumble and to celebrate when they move forward. Have you realized that heaven isn't just recording your obedience, it's responding to it? Think of how God guided the Israelites in the wilderness. He didn't leave them wandering alone. He stayed close, directing them with a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. That wasn't just divine instruction, it was personal presence. Could it be that the cloud is still above you and the fire is still lighting your night, even when you feel lost? God's attention is never accidental. He saw the effort you made when no one clapped. He saw you hold your tongue when you were provoked. He saw you give when you barely had enough for yourself. That kind of quiet obedience is the language of the chosen. Just like David, who was anointed in private before he was crowned in public, you are being shaped in silence. Before the throne ever appeared, David was playing his harp in the shadows, unknown but never unseen. Do you feel like you're in the shadows right now? Then know this: that's exactly where kings are formed. Real life echoes this truth as well. Consider the story of Chadwick Boseman. For years he worked in quiet dedication, training, acting, giving powerful performances, even while silently battling a terminal illness. The world saw the spotlight only at the end, but God saw the process. His discipline and faithfulness in private prepared him to inspire millions. What if your hidden struggles, your silent victories, are building towards something just as impactful? And now there's a question lingering in the spirit, not forced, but gently rising like incense. Was this the moment that tipped the scale? Could it be that your yes today, no matter how small it seemed, was the final weight heaven was waiting for? The kind of yes that makes the angels lean forward. The kind of yes that triggers movement in your favor. What if today is the day heaven whispered, "Now it begins"? Chosen one, have you ever wondered if the very things you dismissed as too insignificant, those moments you cried in secret, those decisions you made when no one was watching, were in fact the exact acts that heaven had been waiting for? What if your smallest sacrifices were the loudest signals in the spirit realm? The sigh you released in exhaustion, the smile you offered through your pain, the time you forgave even when your heart was still bleeding. Could these be the quiet keys that unlock the door to your divine turning point? Many expect God to move only through thunder and miracles, but often it's the soft, surrendered yes that causes heaven to roar. Think of Hannah, the woman who was barren, broken, and misunderstood, weeping silently at the temple steps. The high priest didn't even recognize her pain. He thought she was drunk. Yet God did. Her silent anguish stirred the heavens, and it was from that pain that Samuel, the prophet who anointed kings, was born. Doesn't that make you pause and ask, what has your own pain been preparing? Heaven hasn't just been watching you. It's been waiting with anticipation, the way a father watches the door when he knows his child is about to walk through it for the first time in years. There's an intensity in the way God observes your life, not because he doubts you, but because he knows exactly what he planted in you. When you resisted bitterness, when you withheld that angry reply, when you remained loyal while others mocked you. Those weren't wasted moments. Those were prophetic movements, faith-filled actions that signaled to the heavens, you're still chosen, still standing. There's something holy about your discipline, even when it feels mundane. The world doesn't applaud when you choose character over comfort, but heaven does. Jesus once watched a poor widow give 2 small coins, an offering so tiny that it seemed irrelevant beside the wealth of others. Yet he turned to his disciples and said she had given more than anyone, because she gave all she had. Could it be that your little offering of faith is far greater in heaven's economy than you realize? I believe God has been whispering to the heavenly courts on your behalf. That one belongs to me. Look how they trust even in silence. Look how they endure without recognition. Look how they keep walking when others would have quit. Do you feel that sudden stirring rising inside your chest? That quiet thrum of spiritual movement that doesn't yet make sense to your eyes, but your spirit knows something has changed. Even now, while you wonder if anything is happening, heaven may already be celebrating. Like a party being set up behind a curtain, the preparations for your breakthrough could be unfolding in real time, just beyond your view. Could it be that the turning point isn't coming, but has already begun? Think of someone like Bethany Hamilton. After losing her arm to a shark attack at 13, most people thought her dream of becoming a professional surfer was over. But what they didn't see was the discipline in the darkness. The hours spent training when no one was cheering. The prayers whispered into waves that didn't speak back. Today, her story has impacted millions. And it all began with hidden obedience. What hidden obedience in your life is preparing to impact someone else's? You may not have seen the full picture yet, but the canvas has already been touched by the brush of God's hand. And maybe, just maybe, today was the moment it all started to take shape. Chosen one, what if the very struggle you're growing weary of, the one that feels like it has drained the last drop of your strength, is actually the trigger that set heaven's next move into motion? Could it be that your pain wasn't in vain, but was secretly planting divine blueprints beneath the surface of your life? You've spent so much time focusing on how far you still have to go, measuring your worth by progress you think you haven't made. But what if heaven has been celebrating every unseen mile you've already conquered, even the ones you forgot you walked? Heaven does not measure time like man does. Every tear you shed in silence was recorded. Every moment you chose faith over fear, obedience over comfort, was sown like holy seed into the soil of your destiny. It might not have felt like much, but what if those seeds were enough to shift the atmosphere? Isn't that what Jesus taught when he spoke of the mustard seed? That even the smallest act, done in faith, holds the power to move mountains? You may look at your life and feel like you've been barely holding on, but could it be that God sees a different picture? That while you've been silently gripping hope with trembling hands, heaven has seen you standing like a warrior. Think of Gideon, the man who called himself the weakest in his family, the least among his tribe. Yet God called him mighty warrior before he ever lifted a sword. Why? Because God doesn't wait for the world's approval to validate what he already knows is inside you. He looks at your heart, not your headlines. He honors your endurance, not your popularity. How many times have you walked through storms that no one else even knew you were in? The sleepless nights where you thought, I can't take one more hit. The mornings you showed up anyway, with a smile, with service, with quiet strength. The moments when anxiety tried to drown you, yet you kept moving forward with nothing but breath and belief. The world may have missed those moments, but heaven never does. Could it be that today, this very moment, was the breaking point in the spirit? The one that shattered the enemy's final attempt to derail your destiny? There's a holy weight to this season you're in. Not everything is loud when it shifts. Sometimes it's a whisper that ends a war. Heaven doesn't always shout when victory arrives. Sometimes it exhales. Could this be the sacred pause between the final prayer you prayed and the answer that's already in motion? I once heard about a young woman who spent years working at a job that seemed insignificant. No one praised her. No one noticed the kindness she offered daily. But one day, the child she had quietly mentored grew up to become a powerful leader, publicly crediting her as the one who planted the first seeds of hope. She never knew she was raising a giant while she was busy feeling small. Could that be what's happening to you? Could you be planting something that will outlive you, outshine you, and carry your legacy forward? You've been waiting on a sign, but what if today was the sign? What if heaven's breath caught as you woke up this morning, not because of what you were about to do, but because of everything you've already done in secret? In the space between prayers and their answers, there's often a divine stillness, and in that stillness, something holy is unfolding. Heaven isn't always in the noise, it's often in the quiet decision to keep going, to stay faithful, to believe when nothing around you confirms the promise. God hasn't forgotten where you started. He remembers the day you said yes in the dark, when there was no reward in sight. Heaven is not waiting for your perfection, it's already moved because of your direction. What if this entire time, while you thought you were surviving, you were actually winning? And what if today, this quiet, ordinary-looking day, is the exact turning point heaven has been waiting centuries to witness? Chosen one, have you ever considered that today, the very day you almost dismissed as ordinary, might be the one heaven appointed to silence every lie that's ever tried to rewrite your identity? Could it be that this moment, the one you're standing in right now, marks the divine turning point where God's eternal truth finally speaks louder than every false label, every accusation, every whisper of shame that has ever echoed in your mind? You've carried wounds others can't see. The betrayal you kept hidden behind a composed smile. The rejection that left invisible bruises on your confidence. The silent, exhausting war with self-worth that no one but heaven witnessed. But heaven did see. God saw it all, and he did not turn away. Not once. His gaze was fixed on you through every trial, not because you were flawless, but because you endured. Because you kept walking when others would have quit. Do you realize how much heaven honors that kind of resilience? Think about David, before the throne, before the fame. He was overlooked by his own father when the prophet came looking for a king. Others saw just a shepherd boy, but God saw a warrior, a worshipper, a leader after his own heart. Doesn't that sound familiar? How many times have people written you off, misjudged you, minimized your value, simply because they couldn't see what heaven had already spoken over you? The voices that told you you'd never be enough, they were never from God. The inner critic that replayed every failure louder than your victories, that's not the voice of your Creator. Today, those chains, those words, are being broken. Heaven is not neutral in your battle. Heaven is rising on your behalf. Even when you couldn't see your own worth, you still brought joy to the heart of God. On those mornings when just getting out of bed felt like a victory, you were never invisible to him. Remember Peter, stepping out onto the water with shaky faith. When the waves rose and he began to sink, he cried out in panic. But the scripture tells us Jesus was already reaching toward him before the cry was complete. That's how deep and immediate his love is. Could the same hand be reaching toward you right now? You may not have noticed it yet, but something in the atmosphere has shifted. There's a holy reversal taking place. Not because you suddenly became perfect, but because you've been persistent. You've kept walking, even when your legs were trembling. You've held on, even when your heart was tired. And that kind of perseverance, that makes heaven rejoice. Earlier this year, I read about a man who spent decades in obscurity, working at a shelter for the homeless. No public recognition, no applause. But years later, several of the people he cared for became influential voices in social justice, and they all credited him as the one who believed in them when they were at rock bottom. He never saw himself as a history maker, but heaven did. Could it be that your quiet, unseen faithfulness is already rewriting stories you haven't even heard yet? There is a love surrounding you right now that doesn't waver with your emotions. God's love isn't fragile. It's not withdrawn on your worst days or upgraded on your best. It is steady. It is violent toward every lie spoken against you. It is louder than the silence you feared, stronger than the rejection you endured, and more permanent than any title the world could ever assign you. This love doesn't fade. It fights. And now, as you stand here, something sacred is unfolding. What if everything begins to change? not because you finally did enough to prove your worth, but because you allowed your spirit to believe the one thing that has always been true. You were already chosen. Before the pain, before the rejection, before the doubt, you were marked by God. And heaven has never stopped whispering that truth over you. Chosen one, have you ever stopped to consider that heaven may have already risen to its feet on your behalf today, and you never even realized it? What if this day, the one wrapped in quiet exhaustion and covered in routine, was the very moment that sent a divine ripple through the spirit realm, not with fireworks or shouts, but with the thunder of quiet obedience? What if the spiritual realm shook, not because you did something grand, but because you remained faithful when no one saw? Heaven doesn't wait for applause or headlines to celebrate you. It doesn't need a microphone to honor your strength. Instead, it watches closely in the silence, where human eyes tend to look away. It rejoices not in your spotlight moments, but in the hidden ones. When you stood in the shadows and chose righteousness over revenge, when you offered grace to the person who broke you, when you sowed peace in the middle of chaos, those were the moments that lit up heaven's throne room. Remember the woman with the alabaster jar in Luke chapter 7. While others saw waste, Jesus saw worship. Her tears, her surrender, her quiet love spoke louder to God than any sermon spoken that day. Could it be that your unseen sacrifices, your choices to forgive, to walk away, to obey without recognition, are producing the same fragrance before the throne of God right now? When you forgave someone who wounded you so deeply that your heart still aches, and nobody saw the spiritual cost, that was a holy moment. When you walked away from the very thing that once enslaved you, the thing that whispered to you in moments of weakness, and you said no, heaven erupted in celebration. And when you whispered that broken prayer through tears, when words failed, but your spirit still reached for God, He drew nearer. Not out of pity, but out of deep, protective love. The world may never hand you a trophy for choosing humility, but heaven is not blind to the power of your yes in private places. In fact, Scripture speaks directly to this in Galatians chapter 6. It urges you not to grow weary in well-doing, because at the right time you will reap if you do not give up. Could this be the moment your right time begins? Could you be standing on the edge of your due season, even though everything around you still looks the same? Think of Ruth, gleaning in the fields with no idea she was about to be noticed by Boaz. Her loyalty and quiet service didn't earn her headlines, but they attracted divine favor. She didn't even know that the field she stepped into would change her lineage forever. What if today is your Boaz field? What if your simple obedience this morning triggered a spiritual shift too big for your natural eyes to perceive? You didn't quit when anxiety flooded your chest like a storm. You didn't run from your assignment when the weight of loneliness became unbearable. You kept showing up, at work, at home, in prayer, even when your heart was breaking behind the scenes. You continued to love even while carrying emotional bruises. You pressed through the fog of spiritual silence. You stood through financial pressure, relational betrayal, and heartbreaks that no one ever saw. And yet, you did not fold. What if this endurance, this holy perseverance that never made the news, is what tipped the scales of heaven today? What if, while you were pouring a cup of coffee, or driving to work, or praying quietly in the dark, God leaned over to His angels and said, "Watch closely. Today is the day things begin to shift for my chosen one. Not because you were loud, not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. You may feel unseen on earth, but in heaven your name is echoing. This could be the beginning of your shift, the kind that doesn't start with evidence, but with divine movement. And maybe, just maybe, everything starts changing today." Chosen one, have you ever thought that the very moments you labeled as failure, the heartbreaks, the false starts, the disappointments, might have been heaven's way of confirming you were walking straight into destiny? What if the tears you shed in private. The ones that seemed to fall into emptiness were actually the final drops needed to water a breakthrough that had been quietly growing beneath the surface. Could it be that the day you called just another day of survival was, in heaven's eyes, the day your endurance was finally crowned with honor? God's kingdom doesn't measure value like the world does. While others reward the outward signs of success, heaven celebrates the inward battles that only God could see. You saw closed doors and assumed rejection. But what if they were divine redirections? You looked at the cracks in your heart and thought you were falling apart, but God saw the pressure strengthening the foundation of something unshakable. Is it possible that your scars aren't signs of defeat, but sacred reminders that you kept going even when you had every reason to quit? Think about Joseph, sold by his brothers, accused falsely, and locked away in a prison he never deserved. Years passed. He was forgotten by men, but never once was he forgotten by God. Heaven didn't call him broken. Heaven called him in process. And when the time was appointed, everything shifted in a single day. Pharaoh summoned him, and Joseph stepped out of confinement and into his calling. Could it be that your own barely holding on moment today is the signal that your prison season is nearing its end? Faithfulness in the fire has always attracted God's movement. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't escape the furnace. They met God in it. The miracle wasn't in avoiding the fire, but in enduring it without being consumed. And isn't that what you've been doing? You've walked through intense heat, grief, confusion, shame, and you're still here. Could it be that this very furnace has forged the kind of character heaven can trust with the next level? God is not waiting for perfection from you. He never was. What he's been watching for is the faithfulness of your heart, the refusal to curse him when you didn't understand, the decision to stay soft when life tried to harden you. The quiet yes when nobody was watching. What you thought was delay, those long stretching seasons, might actually have been preparation. Like a tree growing roots before it breaks the surface, you've been developing unseen strength. Have you ever wondered why it felt like your prayers went unanswered for so long? What if the silence wasn't absence, but divine strategy? What if the weight you carried wasn't meant to crush you, but to train your spirit for a responsibility that would crush others? This isn't just about getting through something, it's about becoming someone. Many people know the success story of J.K. Rowling, but few reflect on the years she spent in depression, poverty, and deep rejection. She was told she had nothing to offer, yet the very struggles she endured became the fuel for a story that would impact the world. Your pain has purpose too, even if you can't see it yet. What if the struggle you so desperately wanted to escape was actually the final test heaven needed to witness before releasing you into the fulfillment of your calling? Heaven has always responded to endurance. It sees when you worship with tears streaming down your face. It records the nights you stayed up praying when you could have turned away. And though the world may never know what you survived to reach this moment, heaven knows. Could today be the moment it all begins to shift? Not because you proved anything to God, but because you never let go of him when everything else fell apart. Chosen one, have you realized that not every divine turning point enters with lightning and fanfare? Some of the most powerful shifts in your life arrive in silence, dressed in survival, cloaked in ordinary moments that feel more like trembling than triumph. Could it be that today's weariness, the heaviness you've been carrying in your spirit, is not a sign of weakness, but the unmistakable evidence of holy transformation already underway? God often forges his greatest vessels in the fire that no one sees. While the world applauds loud breakthroughs, heaven values the hidden battles, the ones where you said yes to God in a room full of temptation, where you stood your ground when it would have been easier to run, where you continued to believe even when everything screamed doubt. Isn't it possible that the very fire you're walking through now, without praise or confirmation, is actually the altar where God is refining something eternal in you? Spiritual growth doesn't always look glorious. Sometimes it looks like loneliness. Sometimes it looks like tears on your pillow and silence from heaven. It looks like forgiving the same person again, choosing obedience without clarity, showing up to pray when you feel nothing. But heaven has been watching. You haven't gone unnoticed. Every quiet sacrifice has been recorded. Every compromise you refused to make, every habit you broke in secret, every battle you fought without applause, these were holy victories. And they weren't just seen, they were celebrated. Daniel is a perfect example. He didn't wait for the crowd to validate his faith. He didn't pray for attention. He prayed because it was who he was. And when his integrity was tested, he didn't hide. He opened his window and kept praying, even when it led him to a den of lions. That private devotion shook empires. Could your quiet consistency be shaking something too? Could the unseen acts of faith you've been living out be echoing louder in heaven than you've ever imagined? You may look at today and see nothing special. You may feel like you're simply enduring. But what does heaven see? From above, could this be the moment you crossed an invisible line? The point where persistence became breakthrough, where faith matured into favor. You see your trembling hands. God sees a soul on fire. You see imperfections and wonder if you're enough. He sees his image being restored, stroke by stroke, decision by decision, one quiet victory at a time. What if this moment, this very hour, wasn't just about holding on, but about crossing over into new territory spiritually, mentally, emotionally? What if everything you've endured wasn't for nothing, but preparation for a realm you're just now stepping into? I once met a woman who spent years caregiving for a special needs child, never acknowledged, never thanked. Yet, decades later, that same child, now an accomplished speaker, stood on stage and told the world, "She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." She never knew she was shaping destiny in silence. Could that be your story too? That while you think you're just surviving, you're actually building a legacy. Chosen one, you're not walking in circles. You're walking through fire towards something eternal. Heaven is not waiting to love you once you arrive. Heaven has been with you every step of the journey. And maybe today, in all its quietness, was not a pause, but a passage, a sacred crossing into everything God has prepared for you. Chosen one, have you ever considered that the greatest obstacle standing between you and your divine turning point may not have been the betrayal, the loss, or even the failure, but the story you started believing about yourself because of them? Could it be that the real burden you've been dragging through the seasons isn't what they did to you, but the silent verdict you handed yourself in the aftermath? How many times have you replayed the moment where everything shifted? The words you wish you could take back, the decision you regret, the silence you didn't know how to break. How many nights have you whispered guilt into your soul, convincing yourself that you let God down in a way that couldn't be restored? But here's the holy shift you may not have seen coming. What if heaven never saw you as broken, but as being rebuilt? Not discarded, but refined. Psalm 103 reveals something deeply personal. It says that just as a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him, because he knows your frame. He remembers that you're dust. That's not a statement of weakness. It's a declaration of how tenderly God holds your humanity. He sees your thoughts before you speak them, your emotional scars before you explain them. He knows your fears, your trauma responses, your longing to be better, your attempts to move forward even when you feel stuck. And still, he responds with mercy. God has never been searching for flawless performance. He's searching for a heart that keeps returning. Could it be that your greatest act of faith today isn't doing something great, but simply letting go of the shame and coming back home to grace? Have you forgotten how patient God is with those he calls? Think about Peter. He walked with Jesus, witnessed miracles, declared loyalty, and then denied him 3 times in his darkest hour. That failure was public, painful, crushing. And yet, what did Jesus do just days later? He didn't shame him. He cooked him breakfast. He didn't reject him. He restored him. He didn't strip Peter of his calling. He entrusted him to lead the church. What if your failure isn't the end of your story, but the very soil where God's mercy is about to bloom? I once heard someone say, "The enemy will try to use your failure as final proof that you're unworthy, but God will use it as the very platform to prove his faithfulness." Could that be what's happening right now in your life? Could it be that today, this quiet, unassuming day, is the one where heaven begins turning your shame into sacred strength? Maybe the true turning point heaven has been waiting for isn't external at all. Maybe it's not about your circumstances shifting, your status changing, or the storm finally passing. Maybe it's about something even greater, you changing how you see yourself, because God never stopped seeing you as his beloved, not when you fell, not when you doubted, not when you pulled away in pain. His love did not flinch, and perhaps right now, the only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is a lie you've believed about your worth. But here's the truth that silences every accusation. You are still chosen, you are still called, and your turning point begins, not when you fix everything, but when you finally believe you are still loved in the middle of everything. Chosen one, what if this very day, yes, this very moment, is not about trying to reach perfection, but about finally catching a glimpse of how heaven has always seen you? Could it be that while you've been busy criticizing every flaw, every hesitation, every scar, God has been watching a masterpiece unfold in silence? You've been staring into the mirror, counting what's missing, but heaven has been gazing into your soul, witnessing what's being made whole. While you call them cracks, the potter sees potential. And just like clay must be stretched and spun on the wheel before it becomes a vessel of glory, you too are being shaped for something sacred. In the book of Isaiah, God says plainly, "You are the work of my hands." That means every scar has been sculpted with divine intention. Every pause in your journey wasn't a delay. It was a deliberate stroke of his craftsmanship. Even the moments you've called failures may have been the very signals to heaven that you are still in motion, still pressing forward. Have you ever wondered why some of your lowest days still didn't disqualify you? It's because heaven doesn't grade you on speed, it watches your surrender. And when God sees your heart turning toward him, even through trembling and fatigue, he rejoices. You've believed he was disappointed in your progress, haven't you? But God was never after performance. He was always after your direction. And what's the current of your heart flowing toward today? That's where heaven's attention lingers. Remember Ephesians? It declares that you are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. That word, workmanship, comes from the Greek poema, the same root word for poem. You are a living poem being written line by line, not a finished sculpture meant for immediate display. Every stanza of struggle, every pause of pain, every rhythm of redemption is part of the divine composition being written in you. What if your tears were not signs of weakness, but drops of ink writing the next verse of your story? Think about Job. His friends misjudged his suffering, assuming guilt where God saw faith. They didn't see the battlefield of Job's mind. They didn't hear the conversations in heaven where God himself called Job blameless. Your story is like that, deep, layered and misunderstood. But just because others don't recognize the value of your pain doesn't mean heaven is silent. God sees the full picture, and he's already smiling at how far you've come, even if you've only taken one quiet step forward today. I once met a young man who used to be addicted, homeless, and forgotten by nearly everyone he loved. Today, he's a counselor helping others escape the same pit he once called home. He told me, "It wasn't the moment I got clean that changed me. It was the moment I realized God had never left." What if that's true for you too? What if your greatest turning point isn't when you win the battle, but when you finally see that God has been cheering for you in every battle? You've changed, chosen one. Don't you sense it? You've softened in the places where anger once ruled. You've found strength in silence. You've let go of pride that used to hide your pain. You've become more aware in the spirit, more discerning, more obedient, more surrendered. And perhaps this invisible transformation, the one no one else notices, is the very thing that heaven has been waiting for. Could it be that today isn't about you proving your worth, but about realizing that you've already become someone heaven delights in? Not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful. Because you kept going when quitting would have been easier. Because you trusted when the evidence didn't make sense. Because you stayed when the world told you to run. And maybe, just maybe, that's what it means to truly be called chosen. Chosen one. Have you considered the possibility that you've been your own harshest critic, while all along heaven has been celebrating you in ways you can't even imagine? You see every delay, every stumble, and every misstep. But heaven sees every time you rose again. You've quietly endured seasons others would have crumbled under, and yet you often act as though your survival doesn't count. Why is it so easy to believe in your flaws, but so difficult to believe in your growth? God has not overlooked your invisible battles, the nights you held back anger when you could have exploded, the days you forgave someone who never apologized, the moments you chose prayer over panic. Those weren't small decisions. In the spirit, they were trumpet blasts of victory. And just because no one else noticed doesn't mean heaven was silent. Do you realize how loudly growth speaks in the spirit realm? The internal shifts, the battles no one sees, and the courage to choose humility over hate. These are the victories that angels applaud. The truth is, God is not keeping score the way you think. He is not standing over you with a list of failures. He is not measuring your worth by your scars, but by the destiny He planted inside you before you were even born. That destiny is still alive. He's shaping it from within you, even now. Think about Gideon, a man who saw himself as the weakest of his clan, hiding in fear from his enemies. And yet God called him mighty warrior, not because Gideon looked ready, but because God saw the hidden potential within him. Could that be what's happening with you too? Could God already be calling you by who you're becoming, even while you're still questioning your worth? What if today isn't just another moment, but a spiritual pivot? What if heaven has already marked it as a turning point? Not because your life suddenly became perfect, but because your heart finally chose courage over condemnation. You may not be flawless, but you are becoming fearless. You may not have clarity about everything ahead, but you're walking forward in faith anyway. And that is exactly what pleases God. Your past does not get to hold the pen anymore. Only God writes your story, and He's not done. Think about Paul, once known as Saul, a man who violently persecuted the early church. By all human standards, he should have been disqualified. But God didn't disqualify him. He redirected him. Paul became one of the greatest apostles, not because he had a perfect past, but because he had a surrendered heart. His story proves that your future isn't locked inside your failure. It's wrapped inside God's unshakable faithfulness. I once heard the story of a man who was a high school dropout, raised in poverty, working at a fast food restaurant while secretly writing ideas in a journal during his breaks. Everyone around him thought he was wasting time. That man was Tyler Perry. Years later, those same scribbles became scripts, stage plays, and films that reached millions. His past didn't disappear, but it lost its power to define him. He didn't rise because of a perfect background, but because he believed that his story could still be redeemed. Could the same be true of you? Could it be that your story isn't over, but about to begin in a brand new way? Maybe that's the true shift heaven has been waiting for. Not a change in your surroundings, but a change in your agreement. When you stop aligning with the voice of shame and start embracing the voice of the shepherd, everything begins to realign. God sees you, not as a failure in progress, but as a masterpiece still being shaped. The book of Philippians reminds us that he who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Not leave it halfway, not abandon you mid-process. He will finish it. And he's still shaping you right now, even through the discomfort, even through the waiting, even through the quiet. Why? Because he sees the fullness of who you're becoming, and he will not stop shaping you until you walk boldly in that identity. This could be the day heaven's been waiting for. Not because you reached perfection, but because you finally dared to believe you were chosen. Chosen one, pause for just a moment and breathe this in deeply. Can you feel it? Something has shifted, not just around you, but within you. There's a stirring in the atmosphere, a quiet thunder in your soul. What if this is the very second that heaven has been waiting for? Not next week, not next year, right now. What if the turning point you've been praying for, the one that felt forever delayed, has finally arrived? You've been standing on sacred ground and didn't even realize it. And what if today is the collision point where all your past obedience meets your long-awaited breakthrough? Could it be that heaven has been holding its breath for this very moment, watching your story reach the chapter it's been writing toward since the beginning? There are times when hope whispers gently, but then there are moments like this, when hope ignites like fire in your bones, and suddenly you remember who you are. This is not just encouragement. This is divine ignition. This is the roar of heaven awakening something deep inside you. And in this moment, God is not distant or disengaged from what you've endured. He has never been a silent spectator in your suffering. Every sleepless night, every tear you wiped away in secret, every time you chose love over bitterness, it was seen. It was recorded. He knows what it cost you to keep walking when your legs were trembling. Hebrews chapter 6 reminds us with a profound truth. God is not unjust. He will never forget your labor of love or the sacrifices you made in his name. That means every time you stayed when it would have been easier to leave. Every seed you sowed in hidden faith. Every act of obedience you gave when no one was clapping. It all mattered. Not one of those moments was wasted. Heaven keeps records far more accurately than any man. And what heaven remembers, the earth is required to respond to in time. Think about Hannah in the Bible. She prayed year after year for a child, pouring her heart out before God while others mocked her pain. But when her moment came, it came in fullness. Her son, Samuel, didn't just live. He became one of the greatest prophets in Israel's history. Do you see the pattern? Long seasons of hidden faith often precede explosive releases of favor. What if you're standing at the edge of your Hannah moment? Many people admire the harvest but forget the weight of the plow. You've been tilling hard ground for years, emotionally, spiritually, sometimes even physically, and it felt like nothing responded. But what if the ground wasn't resisting you? It was waiting for the divine timing to meet your obedience. Could it be that you're entering a season heaven authored long ago, a season not defined by striving, but by supernatural return? Imagine the ground you labored in now blooming, the doors that resisted you slowly swinging open, the resources that once slipped through your fingers beginning to gather around you, not because you pushed harder, but because you're finally aligned. And what happens when alignment replaces anxiety? Peace comes and stays. No more fleeting moments of calm followed by waves of fear. No more purpose that feels blurry or unreachable. This is the place where clarity finds you, where favor doesn't just knock, it follows, like a current of divine wind pushing you forward. I once heard a story about a woman who spent over a decade building a non-profit for abused children. No funding, no platform, just quiet obedience. Everyone said she was wasting her time, but one day an unexpected donation came from a philanthropist who had read her story online. Within months, the organization exploded with resources and reached international recognition. What changed? Not her effort, but God's timing. When heaven says yes, earth has no choice but to shift. This is not wishful thinking. It's not fantasy. It's divine law. When God opens a door, no man, no mistake, no delay, no opposition can close it. Not even your past. Revelation says that what he opens, no one can shut. And what he shuts, no one can open. That's the kind of authority backing your next chapter. The question isn't whether this is the turning point. That's already happening. The real question is, now that the shift has begun, what in your life is about to break open, flow freely, and finally align with what heaven has always seen in you? Chosen one, what if this very day, yes, this moment, is the one where everything hidden begins to rise? Not gradually, not eventually, but all at once. What if heaven has been waiting for this exact point in your journey? Not sometime in the distant future, but right now, to release what has long been prepared for you. Can you feel the spiritual atmosphere shifting around you? That quiet trembling in your spirit isn't your imagination. It's the sound of the unseen becoming real. When God says it's your time, not even the gates of hell can hold back what's been ordained. Seasons don't always change like leaves in autumn. Sometimes they break open like a flood. One moment it looks like nothing is happening, and the next, the ground begins to shake, and everything starts bending to the voice of the one who called you. Think of Lazarus lying in the tomb for 4 days. To the world he was forgotten, but when Jesus called his name, the grave had to release him. What if your name is being spoken in the courts of heaven even now, and breakthrough is being commanded to find you? When God is pleased with someone, he doesn't just extend blessings like scattered drops. He surrounds them completely. He becomes the shield that absorbs what was meant to destroy. He becomes light when the path is unclear. He speaks when you feel voiceless, and he walks into rooms you haven't entered yet to prepare the way. The psalmist said it like this: "You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me." That's the kind of divine coverage you're under, even if you don't feel it yet. In the book of Isaiah, God declares that he went before King Cyrus to make the crooked places straight, to break the gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron. Cyrus wasn't even aware he was being used for God's purpose, but alignment had already begun behind the scenes. What if that same divine realignment is happening around you, where obstacles are being removed without your effort, and unseen forces are clearing the path in your favor? You've been saying you're waiting on breakthrough, but what if breakthrough has already been dispatched from heaven and is now racing toward you? What if the delay wasn't denial, but a countdown? Could it be that what looked like stagnation was actually divine coordination? That's why you're about to witness a flood of sudden shifts, miracles that don't add up in human terms, opportunities appearing where there were none, open doors that swing wide without you even asking, not because of luck, not because of timing, but because heaven has spoken. And when heaven gives the yes, no earthly force can deny it. Remember Esther, an orphaned Jewish girl hidden behind palace walls. When her moment came, it wasn't just personal elevation, it was national deliverance. One divine yes from God rearranged entire empires for her to fulfill her assignment. She stepped into destiny for such a time as this. What if your time is now? What if the same hand that moved kings for Esther is rearranging circumstances for you this very moment? You see, the pleasure of God is no small thing. It is not just an emotion, it is an eternal force. It pushes back resistance, it breaks cycles, it accelerates timelines, it brings you into rooms you didn't qualify for. It makes your presence undeniable, even when your name has been overlooked. That divine pleasure is the wind that fills your sails when you thought you were drifting. It's the fire that reignites your calling when you've nearly burned out. I've seen it happen. A man I once knew was overlooked for every promotion for 7 years. Then one morning, a high-level executive who had never even met him asked for his name. By week's end, he was moved into a position that bypassed 3 levels of management. Why? Because favor doesn't need approval. It only needs God's signature. So don't be alarmed when impossibilities begin to crumble like paper. Don't question it when what was hard yesterday becomes effortless today. You've stepped into a prophetic moment that's been written in heaven long before you knew how to pray for it. The ground is responding, the gates are opening, and your assignment is no longer pending, it's active. This isn't coincidence, it's divine convergence. You've entered the hour when everything begins to move. And now, chosen one, it's finally, unapologetically, your time. Chosen one, let this final truth not just pass through your ears, but sink deep into your spirit, into the very marrow of who you are. What if the turning point heaven has been waiting for all along wasn't the day you won the battle, or the moment you finally got it right, but the quiet awakening within you that you've always been deeply, relentlessly loved? Could it be that the breakthrough God was anticipating wasn't external at all, but internal? That your greatest victory wasn't a crown you'd earn, but the revelation that his eyes never stopped seeing you, even when yours could no longer lift to meet his. From the beginning, before your first success, before your first mistake, he was already captivated by you. When you felt unnoticed, he was drawing near. When you were ashamed, he was covering you in grace. Through every valley and every mountaintop, through every misstep and every comeback, God's gaze remained fixed on you, not with condemnation, but with compassion. Could it be that your scars, the ones you tried to hide, are the very places he kisses with the most tenderness? You've been told to prove your worth, to earn your place. But in heaven, you were celebrated before you even took your first breath. The prophet Jeremiah once recorded God's voice saying, "I have loved you with an everlasting love." That's not a metaphor. It's not a verse meant only for your good days. It's eternal truth, an unbreakable covenant that no storm, no failure, no human rejection can ever undo. Everlasting means forever backward and forever forward. It means his love for you began before time and will outlast time itself. You are far more loved than your wounds have allowed you to believe. Isn't that something worth pausing for? You've spent years trying to earn what was already yours, trying to heal alone what only love could truly restore. And yet, even in your doubts, in your rebellion, in your silence, heaven's affection never dimmed. God never waited for you to become perfect. He simply waited for you to come home to what he already knew about you. His love has never been about appearances. It's never hinged on how well you've performed, how eloquently you've prayed, or how consistently you've gotten it right. It's always been rooted in how well he knows you. When you trembled in the dark and questioned your value, he whispered, "Still mine." When you felt unworthy, overlooked and disqualified by life's harsh voices, he responded softly but surely, "Still chosen." Think of Peter, the disciple who denied Jesus 3 times. And yet, after the resurrection, Jesus didn't cast Peter away. He found him, looked into his eyes and asked, "Do you love me?" Not to shame him, but to restore him, to remind Peter of the relationship that had never been broken in heaven, even when it cracked on earth. Is it possible that God is doing the same with you right now? Not accusing, not demanding, just loving you back to life. So what if today's divine turning point isn't about the next promotion, the next opportunity, or even the next miracle? What if it's about your heart finally realizing how profoundly cherished you already are? What if the real shift heaven longed for was you waking up to the truth that love has never left you? God's happiness over you is not fragile. It does not fluctuate with your mood swings or rise and fall with your spiritual performance. It flows endlessly, not because of what you do, but because of who He is. He is love. That is His nature. And He, without regret, without hesitation, chose you. You're not just a servant. You're not merely a vessel. You're His beloved, His child, His treasure. And maybe, just maybe, realizing that is the most powerful turning point of all. Chosen one, what if this very moment, right now, is the moment heaven leans in closer? The moment when eternity itself breathes over your soul and whispers, "You are doing better than you think." Not as soft encouragement, but as a divine confirmation of what has already been recorded in the books of heaven. Could it be that this isn't just about a visible breakthrough or an open door? What if the real shift is happening within, a transformation invisible to others, but known intimately by God? You are not drifting, you are developing. You're not just surviving another hard season. You are being refined into the very image of the one who called you. Each step you've taken through fire has added weight to your spirit and sharpened your discernment. You are rising, not just in strength, but in spiritual authority. And no, you're not walking in circles. You're being drawn, strategically, into the very path prepared for you before the foundations of the world were laid. Heaven is not silent about your progress. You may not hear the applause, but the angels do. The same God who formed you in your mother's womb is speaking over you today with clarity and joy. I am deeply pleased with you. That's not emotional fluff. That's eternal fact. In Psalm 56, David wrote that God collected every one of his tears in a bottle and recorded them in his book. If God saw David's tears, don't you think He's seen yours too? Every sleepless night, every sacrifice no one acknowledged, every time you chose to forgive instead of retaliate, it was witnessed. And more than witnessed, it was celebrated. You didn't just endure, you grew. You didn't just keep breathing, you kept believing. And heaven didn't overlook any of it. What if the direction of your heart, not your outward performance, is what moves God most deeply? Lift your head, chosen one. You have permission to walk with holy boldness. Your confidence doesn't need to come from how perfect you appear. It comes from the fact that you were handpicked by God Himself. You're not lost in confusion. You're in the middle of a divine becoming. You're not overlooked. You're seen with eyes that never blink. You're not stuck. You're being elevated. Think of Gideon. When God called him a mighty warrior, he was hiding in a winepress full of fear and doubt. But heaven didn't label him based on his circumstance. Heaven spoke to who he really was. That's how God speaks to you. Not based on how you feel, but based on how He designed you. Could it be that while you've been rehearsing your weaknesses, heaven has been declaring your name with honor? The very atmosphere around you is shifting, not because your surroundings have changed, but because truth is settling deep within you. That truth is louder than every lie your past ever tried to scream. It drowns out every voice that told you you're not enough, every silence from people who failed to see your worth. Their blindness doesn't cancel your calling. God's love for you is not fragile, it's fierce. It fights for you, it surrounds you, it holds you when no one else can. And His celebration of who you are becoming, it isn't quiet, it reverberates through the spiritual realm. The heavens shake when one of God's chosen rises into awareness of their worth. That's what's happening in this moment. His eyes are still fixed on you with unwavering focus. His hand remains steady upon your life. His joy is rushing toward you, not in drops, but like a roaring river, holy and unstoppable. You're not walking forward alone. Every step is marked with the seal of heaven's approval, blazing like fire over your journey. And nothing, absolutely nothing, no earthly opinion, no demonic lie, no past failure, no inner doubt, can undo what God has already spoken about you. What if today is not just another day, but the day all of heaven has been waiting for? The day you finally see it too. Chosen one, if today truly is the moment heaven has been anticipating, then everything about your journey suddenly takes on new meaning. The delays, the detours, the heartbreaks, they weren't evidence of abandonment, but confirmation of preparation. Have you ever considered that the silence you endured wasn't heaven turning away, but heaven building weight into your words, power into your prayers, and fire into your faith? God never wastes pain. Every disappointment carved a deeper well for joy. Every rejection created space for His divine redirection, and every unanswered question stretched your capacity to trust. What looked like loss was really pruning. What felt like isolation was actually insulation. God shielding you from the wrong voices so you could learn to hear His. Think of Moses. Before he ever led a nation, he spent 40 years in obscurity, tending sheep in the wilderness. To others it looked like he had been discarded, but to heaven he was being refined. When the time came, the same desert that felt like punishment became the very place where God met him in fire. Could your wilderness be the very space where divine fire is about to fall? And what if your quiet, behind-the-scenes obedience has created a holy echo in the spirit, one that now demands attention, not just from heaven, but from the earth? You're not entering your season by accident. You're stepping into what your tears have watered. You're walking into what your obedience has built in silence. This is what happens when spiritual maturity catches up with divine timing. Heaven has always known who you are. You were chosen before the applause, before the platform, before the battle scars. Ephesians tells us that you were selected in Him before the foundation of the world. That means your value was established before your story even began. Isn't that a reason to walk differently? To speak with more conviction, to stop apologizing for the glory God placed within you? Now is the time to embrace it, not cautiously, but courageously. Heaven's seal on your life isn't meant to be hidden. You were never called to blend in. You were created to stand out. You are the light set on a hill, the vessel of glory, the proof that God still writes beautiful stories from broken places. And while some may not understand your glow, your rise, your favor, remember, they didn't call you, so they can't cancel you. When Joseph finally stepped into Pharaoh's palace, he didn't need to defend his past. The fruit spoke louder than any rumor. In the same way, you won't need to justify this next chapter. The evidence of God's hand on your life will be undeniable. So walk forward, not timidly, but with the awareness that heaven is backing you. Your steps are ordered, your timing is divine, and your story, chosen one, is far from over. In fact, the most radiant pages are just beginning to turn. Chosen one, can you feel it now? The tension in your soul hasn't been for nothing. It was the pressure of birthing something eternal. You weren't being broken, you were being built. The stretching, the quiet stretching of your faith was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to expand your capacity to carry glory. Heaven does not entrust weight to the untested. That's why your process was so intense. That's why the warfare was so personal. Because your assignment is not ordinary. There is something different about you. Not because of pride, but because of purpose. You've carried burdens that weren't even yours, interceded for people who never thanked you, and kept going when no one clapped. Why? Because something in you knew. You were marked for more. Even when your surroundings looked nothing like the promise, your spirit refused to settle. That's the sign of a chosen one. You don't conform, you transform. What if everything up to this point has been heaven's preparation for your unveiling? Just as David was anointed long before he was appointed, perhaps you've been chosen in secret, developed in silence, and now you're nearing your moment of public purpose. Remember when Samuel went to Jesse's house looking for Israel's next king? David wasn't even invited to the lineup. But God told Samuel, "Man looks at the outward appearance, but I look at the heart." And it was David's heart that made heaven say, "That's the one." Never has the enemy tried to convince you that you've been forgotten, that you missed your moment, that the pain disqualified you. It's a lie. You've been hidden, not overlooked. You've been planted, not buried. And when a seed breaks open underground, it looks like destruction, but it's actually the beginning of multiplication. Could it be that your hidden season is finally cracking open, and what's been growing in the dark is about to reach the surface? Heaven has not just been watching your journey, it's been writing it. Every delay had a date, every prayer had a purpose, every sacrifice was a strategy. What if your rise was delayed not to punish you, but to preserve you? To ensure that when you arrive with substance, not just style, with authority, not just applause, with anointing, not just ambition. And now, chosen one, the anointing is thicker on your life than it's ever been. You're carrying fire in your bones. You're not just surviving anymore, you're becoming a threat to darkness. That's why the warfare increased. That's why the isolation became heavy, because what's on your life is beginning to echo. Demons can hear it, heaven can hear it, and soon the world will too. This is the hour where you must step forward with courage, not because you have every answer, but because you trust the one who's been guiding your every step. When Peter stepped out of the boat, he didn't walk on water. He walked on the word Jesus spoke. And the same is true for you. You're not walking on circumstances anymore. You're walking on the promise. And when God says now, no storm can sink what faith has begun. So let the world wonder. Let them ask, how did you get here? Let them try to understand the favor that surrounds you like a shield. The answer is simple. You were chosen, and heaven never lost track of you. Not in the wilderness, not in the waiting, not in the weeping. You were chosen for such a time as this. And now that time has come. Chosen one, this moment is not random. It's been orchestrated. Heaven has been arranging things behind the veil while you've been walking by faith and not by sight. Every closed door wasn't a rejection, it was a redirection. Every delay wasn't to stop you, it was to stage you. Can you feel it? The ground beneath your feet is no longer trembling from instability. It's rumbling with the sound of arrival. You're not stepping into favor. Favor is stepping into you, not because of anything you've done to earn it, but because of what you've endured without turning bitter. You passed tests that no one saw. You overcame temptations that tried to choke your destiny. And while others moved forward through shortcuts, you waited for God's signal. Now that obedience is calling down acceleration, just like Joseph, who in one day went from prison to palace, there comes a moment when divine alignment overtakes human delay. And what if that moment is now? There is a holy shift happening around you. You may not see it with your eyes yet, but your spirit already knows. The atmosphere is responding to the weight you now carry. This is not hype. This is not emotion. This is what it feels like when heaven authorizes your next chapter. You're not just entering a new season. You're becoming a new vessel. And every attack that was meant to destroy you has become the very stone under your feet. Look at Esther. Her entire life was leading up to one divine intersection. When the moment came, she didn't need to strive. She simply had to stand. And when she stood, kings listened. Entire systems shifted. She didn't beg for influence. Her identity carried it. And you, chosen one, are walking in the same authority, not the kind manufactured by men, but the kind heaven breathes upon. You are no longer who you were when the process began. There's a fire in you now that trials couldn't extinguish, a clarity that confusion couldn't blur, a power that pain couldn't crush. You've been stretched, refined, and tested, and what remains is unshakable. Isn't that why you didn't break when you should have? Isn't that why, even at your lowest, something in you still held on? That was the remnant of destiny refusing to die. God did not bring you this far just to inspire others. He brought you here to establish something through you. You are the first in your family to carry this mantle. You are the interruption to generational cycles. The living proof that bloodlines can shift when one person says yes to God. Have you noticed how the resistance around you has grown stronger lately? That's because the release is closer than it's ever been. Heaven never wastes warfare. There's a crown on the other side of this, and what God is about to place on your life will not only bless you, but heal those connected to you. You are the answer to someone else's cry. Your breakthrough will become someone else's blueprint. This isn't just about you rising, it's about what your rising will resurrect in others. So rise, not with arrogance, but with authority, not with fear, but with fire, not with questions, but with confidence. Let the whisper of God grow louder than every doubt that has echoed in your mind. Let the truth of who you are drown out the memory of who you were. You are not the abandoned. You are not the broken. You are not the rejected. You are the chosen, and the time for hiding is over. Chosen one, you've been prepared in places no one applauded. You've been faithful in rooms no one saw. And now, the silence that once surrounded your process is being shattered by the sound of destiny waking up. There is no need to announce yourself. God is doing that for you. He is the one raising your name in conversations you've never entered, placing your face in dreams you didn't ask to appear in, and stirring hearts to favor you without explanation. This is the evidence that the hidden season is over. You don't need a title to carry weight. You don't need a spotlight to shine. God's glory on your life is undeniable, and it will speak for you in places where your voice has not yet been heard. Do you remember how Jesus stepped into the temple and read the scroll of Isaiah, declaring that the Spirit of the Lord was upon him? He didn't ask for permission. He didn't wait for approval. He announced alignment. You are walking into that same moment, where everything you've carried in private is about to be confirmed in public. And maybe you've wondered, am I really ready? But readiness in heaven isn't about having everything figured out. It's about surrender. It's about obedience when it doesn't make sense, about trusting when the path looks impossible. That's what sets you apart. While others demand to see first, you've dared to believe first. And because of that faith, mountains are about to move. Waters are about to part. Doors that were locked for generations are about to swing wide because you dared to keep walking. Think of Joshua. When the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, the waters didn't split while they were standing still. They parted as they stepped in. Your obedience is creating a path through what once felt like a flood. Every footstep is breaking resistance. Every act of faith is a key unlocking what no one else could access. What if your next move, your quiet yes to God, is the very act that ignites generational restoration? And what if the oil on your life has matured in the dark long enough, and now God is saying, pour it, not in fear, not in hesitation, but boldly, fully, and without apology. You don't need to dim your light for those still sitting in shadows. You were born to shine in front of them, because when you shine, it doesn't just expose darkness, it awakens dormant light in others. This is not a time to question your worth. It's time to embody it, to walk into rooms with the understanding that you carry answers, that your presence shifts atmospheres, that your voice carries the breath of God because you've walked through fire and still came out burning. The heavens are not silent anymore. There is a divine trumpet sounding in the spirit, a declaration that the chosen ones are rising. Those who were mocked, misunderstood, mishandled, they are about to be mantled by God Himself. This is not reward, it's release. The scroll has been opened, the seal broken, and the assignment activated. So stand up, wipe your face, adjust your posture. Heaven is not just watching you now, it's partnering with you. The angels assigned to you have not been idle. They've been waiting for the signal, and it's been given. You are not the same version of yourself you were last year. You've outgrown former mindsets. You've broken out of generational chains. You've overcome cycles designed to confuse and delay you. And now you carry a clarity that is dangerous to the enemy. That's why hell has fought you so violently, because it knew this moment was coming. But here you are, and now the heavens declare it's time. Chosen one, if your heart has been stirred while listening, it's not just emotion, it's recognition. Your spirit knows when truth is spoken. And perhaps that's the final confirmation you needed. This day is not ordinary. This day is marked, not by human calendars, but by divine intention. Maybe today isn't just a day. Maybe it's your day. The day heaven circled long ago. The day the shift begins. Not because of what changes around you, but because of what has awakened within you. We live in a time when so many are running, striving, trying to become someone. But you, chosen one, you're not trying to become something the world demands. You are returning to who God always knew you were. This is not reinvention. This is revelation. And now, as the world grows darker, the ones who have been refined in fire, the ones who didn't give up when no one was watching, you are rising with authority, clarity, and fire. In my personal walk, I found that the most life-altering shifts didn't happen with lightning and thunder. They happened in moments just like this. Quiet moments, unassuming moments, where the Spirit of God whispered, "Now," and everything changed. If this message found you, I believe it wasn't by accident. You were led here, and heaven is watching you respond. Your shift is not a question anymore. It has begun. Walk in it, rise in it. Believe again, not just in the promise, but in the one who made it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Thank you for walking this journey with courage, with hunger, and with humility. If this word confirmed something in your spirit, feel free to share it in the comments by writing 777 as a sign of agreement, alignment, and activation. And thank you to every single one of you who has supported this mission through Super Thanks. Whether you give or not, your presence here is a gift. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and cause His face to shine upon you. The shift has begun, and heaven is smiling. Stay ready. Your time is now.